Hi, Vinette.
How are you, Constance?
Very good. How are you doing?
Doing great. It's a beautiful day outside.
Yes, we're all indoors.
It's also a beautiful day for pollen. I was just outside for a few minutes. If I start sneezing, you'll know why. But it is gorgeous out.
We're waiting for.
Hello, everyone. How are you?
Afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Councilor Bose.
Good to see you. Okay, let me just make sure I have all the permissions on here. Okay, so far, no one else in the waiting room. It's Councilor Braden. Hello. Okay. Okay. Is it Carrie or Candace?
Hi, it's Carrie.
Hi, Carrie.
Ready to go when you are, Madam Chair.
Okay, I'm ready. All right, we will officially call this hearing to order. Thank you everyone for joining us and welcome to the Boston City Council's Committee on Planning, Development and Transportation. My name is Michelle Wu. I'm chair of this committee and I'm proud to be here with my colleague, Councilor Liz Braden. And if any other councilors join, I will make sure they're recognized as well. Today, we will be discussing dockets number 0204 and 0347. I will read some official language into the record and then we'll dive right in. Okay. In accordance with Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 executive order modifying certain requirements of the open meeting law and relieving public bodies of certain requirements, including the requirement that public bodies conduct meetings in a public place that is open and physically accessible to the public, the City Council will be conducting this hearing virtually. This enables the council to carry out its responsibilities while adhering to public health recommendations and ensuring public access to its deliberations through adequate alternative means. This hearing is being recorded and live streamed on the City of Boston's website. It will also be rebroadcast at a later date on Xfinity 8, RCN 82, and FiOS 964. If anyone would like to testify on this matter, please email juan.lopez@boston.gov for the Zoom link. Okay, and for the record, here are the dockets. Docket number 0204, message in order for the confirmation of the appointment of Alyssa Drayton to the Board of Directors of the Boston Industrial Development Finance Authority, BIDFA, for a term expiring April 1st, 2025. And docket number 0347, message in order authorizing the City of Boston to accept and expend the amount of $360,000 in the form of a grant awarded by the Boston Redevelopment Authority, doing business as the Boston Planning and Development Agency, pursuant to a board vote to approve the expenditure on February 11th, 2021. The purpose of the grant is to fund a staff position in the Boston Transportation Department for 3 years under a memorandum of agreement to assist in the implementation of transportation and infrastructure improvements associated with BPDA and Boston Transportation Department planning initiatives in the city's neighborhoods. These matters were sponsored by the mayor and referred to the Committee on Planning, Development, and Transportation on January 27th, and February 24th of this year, respectively. Okay, now hopping over to Councillor Braden, if you would like to offer any opening statements, and then we'll go to Councillor Mejia and then dive into the administration presentations.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In the interest of timeliness, I'll keep my comments brief. I'm just here to support the transfer of funds from the BPDA to the BTD, and I look forward to hearing how the BTD are going to utilize these funds. But with that said, that's all I have to say. Thank you. Also, thanks to all the folks who are here to testify and to help us with this discussion this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Braden. Councillor Mejia.
Yeah, thank you, Chairwoman Wu. I don't, surprisingly enough, don't have much to say. I'm here just to participate, listen, and learn, and ask questions as needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll dive right in. If BTD doesn't mind, if it's okay, I would love to start with Ms. Strayton, because she is here and we appreciate her time. So I assume that Bill will do a little introduction and overview, and then we will hear from our nominee.
Thank you, Councillor. First of all, good afternoon. Chairperson Wu and committee members, thank you for taking your time today. I'd like this opportunity to introduce you to Alyssa Drayton, candidate for the Bidford Board of Directors. Before I introduce Alyssa, I'd like to say a few words about Bidford and its mission. Bidford promotes economic growth and employment in the city of Boston by issuing bonds that finance the capital needs of the city's businesses and institutions. The authority is staffed through the BPDA. Since its inception in 1972, Bidford has served as conduit issuer for about $572 million in bonds and has helped to create and retain over 20,000 jobs. Financing capital needs through the issuance of tax-exempt debt generally results in significant interest cost savings. Revenue earned by the bond purchaser is exempt from state and federal taxes. The purchaser then passes this savings along to the issuer by charging a lower interest rate. That's the purpose behind doing these bonds. It should be noted that the credit of the borrower and not that of the city of Boston. Bidford or the Commonwealth of Mass is pledged to repay the bonds. And now, as the city recovers from the COVID-19 pandemic, Boston's institutions are facing a lot of new pressures on their built environment. As the city of Boston's conduit issuer of tax-exempt debt, I think Bidford could have a real role in helping to address these needs. We can also help to improve these institutions' cash flow issues through the refinancing of existing debt, because we're in a good interest rate environment. And finally, as part of the city's Renew Boston Trust Initiative, Bidford also offers a program called TELP, a tax-exempt leasing program that can assist with self-liquidating tax-exempt lease finance that will fund upgrades, energy upgrades with no upfront costs, a cash neutral payment, and extended repayment terms. Before I move on to introducing Alyssa, does anybody have any questions for me?
Councillor Braden or Councillor Mejia?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Nope, thank you, Bill.
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to introduce Alyssa Drayton. Alyssa R. Drayton. Alyssa will add an incredible amount of her education, experience, and background to the Bidford Board of Directors. Her background perfectly suits the board membership. Alyssa is a credit-trained financial services professional with extensive experience in corporate, government, and nonprofit sectors. She's experienced in managing global compliance, and risk management projects for an institutional bank, and has structured and syndicated debt financing for capital market groups. This is something of a homecoming for Alyssa. Prior to her career in banking, Alyssa worked in the field of community economic development, specializing in program development and fundraising. And she worked for, when it was the Boston Office of Jobs and Community Services, now it's the Office of Workforce Development at the BPDA. She also was with the East New York Urban Youth Corps, which is a multi-service nonprofit in housing development, Pratt Institute Center for Community and Environmental Development, and the National Federation of Community Development Credit Unions. Alyssa is a second-generation native of Boston and alum of the Boston public school system. So am I. Great. As a Woodrow Wilson National Fellow in Public Policy and International Affairs, Alyssa completed honor certificate programs in public policy at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor and the University of Texas at Austin. She has a Master's of Science in Urban Policy Analysis and Management from the New School of Social Research with a concentration in Community Economic Development. Alyssa also holds JD and MBA degrees from Boston College with a concentration in financial securities. Alyssa's dynamic record of civic engagement includes membership of the Democratic Ward 12 Committee, member of the Board of Trustees of the Boys and Girls Club of Boston, and is on the Board of Directors of the BC Law School Black Alumni Network. She's been the recipient of the State Street Corporation's Chairman's Award for Exceptional Volunteerism in North America, Lincoln University of Pennsylvania's 2018 Alumni Service Award, and last but not least, it's a 2020 inductee in the Alumni Hall of Fame for the Boys and Girls Club of Boston. And now I pass it on to Alyssa to introduce herself.
Thank you very much, Bill. Yes, please, Ms. Drayton, could you just add anything else that you would like us to know? And we will have questions for you, I'm sure.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that introduction, Bill. And good afternoon, Madam Chairman, City Councilors, and all who are assembled this afternoon. It is an honor to be before you today as a nominee for the Boston Industrial Development Finance Authority Board of Directors. As Bill mentioned, I'm a second generation born and raised native of Roxbury and an alum of the Boston Public School System. I don't want to rehash, what I thought, I may mention about my career path. But I'm very passionate about civic engagement, volunteer service, and champion initiatives that uplift and empower other people. What guides me is that I'm grounded in a value system of stewardship. My current volunteer commitment support youth development, higher education, leadership development, and voter engagement. And as the city of Boston evolves, with a commitment to equity and inclusion, I welcome this opportunity to leverage my diverse knowledge and skills to support capital solutions that aim to stabilize institutions that promote economic development and create employment opportunities throughout the city. A city that my sizable maternal and paternal family has called home since the 1930s. I'm of the thought no one left behind. That's something that, that's important to me. And, I would honor this opportunity and privilege to serve my city and the fellow residents of Boston as a member of the Biddeford Board of Directors. The Biddeford staff and board are amazing, and I am eager, to be presented this opportunity to work alongside them to make our great city better. And with that, I appreciate the consideration given to my nomination and this opportunity to introduce myself. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I want to recognize that Councillor Flynn has joined us as well. And so now we'll go to councillors for questions. First, Councillor Braden, then Councillor Mejia, then Councillor Flynn.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm incredibly impressed with your resume and the wonderful skill set and experience and education that you'll bring to this job. And just from your, I'm very interested in the work of CDCs and just, in terms of how BITFA could support a nonprofit sector in economic development or workforce development. And just any thoughts or ideas about those issues from your experience?
Yes, I was very fortunate very early on in my career. I worked on a Community Development Corporation oral history project that was funded by the Ford Foundation. I won't tell you how many years ago that was, but that was before community development became this profession, if you will. And I had the opportunity to do case studies of community development corporations throughout the country that helped to inform training and development. In support of, it was a big thing back then, but it's still very relevant. One of the challenges that CDCs have is this access to capital as well as technical and professional skills. Mm-hmm. A lot of these community development corporations were founded, after the uprisings and the challenges of the 1960s. And you had a lot of grassroots leaders who were championing, change and investment. And they would get large sums of money, but they didn't necessarily have the skill set, you know, and now the skill set is there isn't necessarily the money.
Exactly.
So it's always evolving, you know, but one of the ways is to make sure that there is sustainable funding. So I've worked in the space of helping to funnel funds to community development corporations, but also community development credit unions.
Yeah.
You know, capital is, you know, people have the needs, they have the ideas, but it's the capital access that is very, very vital. And BIDFA, I think, is extremely important to that effort because it has a board of leaders throughout the city who are boots on the ground, who are engaged with those, you know, the residents in the institutions that are at the forefront of creating economic employment opportunities.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. That's what I have for now.
Thank you. Councilor Mejia?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have many questions. I'm so super excited and comforted in knowing that you are one of the nominees for this, and looking forward to your leadership and your voice in the space. And it's more of a, this is probably more because I do a lot of work in the community engagement space. So can you talk to us a little bit about, and civic engagement is one of the things that I deeply care about. Would you be able to talk a little bit about kind of how you see your role in helping to inform and create space for real community engagement processes, and what will be some of the things that you may recommend in terms of how we do business around community engagement?
I think, you know, one of the key aspects of community engagement is transparency and accessibility. You know, that's extremely important. And I know through my work through JCS, you know, having community meetings, having staff on hand to answer questions, those are the kinds of things that are important because, again, you know, we're very much aware of the needs, and we know that there are people who are fighting and who are championed for those issues that impact the residents. And it's really like, how do we create, to your point, space where we can, you know, discuss ideas and discuss solutions, and that's through communication and transparency of information.
Thank you. I'm not going to hold you hostage for the sake of holding you hostage, so I don't have any more questions. But thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Flynn?
Thank you, Councillor Wu, and thank you to the nominee. I had an opportunity to read about your background and experience, and I know you'll do a tremendous job in the new position. I look forward to voting to support you, and thank you for your service to the residents of the city. And we have another outstanding leader coming on board, so I just want to say thank you for being part of the team.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So just in my capacity as chair, I'll just echo how excited I know all the council will be, and to thank you for being willing to share your time and talents with the city in this way once again, serving the city. In my sort of official capacity, I'll ask just some of the technical stuff that I have to ask everyone of where do you anticipate any potential conflicts of interest, if there were any I don't know, particular organizations or applications that might come before BIDFA, just so we have a sense ahead of time.
I don't anticipate any potential conflicts, and should there be, you know, a situation that, you know, will give rise to some potential conflict, I would of course consult with Bill and other board members to assess the situation and to act accordingly. And of course, if there should be a situation, I would recuse myself.
Great, thank you. And then just thinking about the kind of needs of the city in this moment, especially with the pandemic, getting businesses back up and running, our climate vulnerability. I have been trying to push from this perch, BIDFA, to move a little bit in that direction too, right? Think about resiliency, think about different ways that maybe than traditionally projects that were being financed. So I don't know if you have any feedback or thoughts about how BIDFA could really be used to take on some of the challenges of the future that the city's facing.
Just given what Bill has mentioned, issues around the environment, I think that's important. I think, what happens, a lot of stuff, we're in the city, we're not thinking about, how our daily lives impact the environment. I think where BIFA can be helpful is to support those institutions that have those concerns at the forefront, in a sense of creating not only job opportunities, but also educating and giving people exposure to the importance of that type of work. So that's where I see BIFA being very helpful and help to move that issue forward.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Great. Is there, I guess my last question would just be, is there anything that's, if you had one goal from serving in this role, is there any particular thing that you would hope to accomplish in this post or, shaping the agency?
Just to make, employment opportunities, accessible to our most vulnerable, populations. And I have to be quite honest with you, I have a particular, interest in, young men of color, and their ability to find gainful career paths, where they can support their families and actually, feel a sense of being rooted in the city. That's important.
Wonderful. Well, I'm sure council will be excited to support you in whatever you need in that front through this role. And so I just thank you so much. We will take this up at our next council meeting as for a vote, and I'm eager to support. And so thank you so much for being with us today and for being willing to do this for the city. Thank you, Bill, for joining us and for all you do too.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Your time. Everybody have a good weekend.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Thank you. So if you wanted to stay, feel free, but I'm sure you have many other things to do. So we'll turn to BTD. You do not feel like you have to stay for this portion of it, Ms. Drayton and Bill.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thanks. Okay. Thank you so much, Vineet and Pat, for your patience. Eager to dive in on your side.
Sure. Thank you, councillors, for inviting us to the City Council hearing. I'm Vineet Gupta. I'm the Planning Director at the Boston Transportation Department. And I'm joined by Patrick Hoy, who heads up or leads our neighborhood planning team. And he's a key player in this City Council hearing. As background, as all of you know, the City of Boston, the Transportation Department, works hand in hand with the BPDA to do neighborhood-wide or district-wide, what we call transportation action plans. And these always involve extensive community process and the involvement of professionals from the city side, from consultants. The outcome of these processes is a set of recommendations that we always would like to implement. Whether they're short-term recommendations, maybe it's a new crosswalk, or whether they're a longer-term project, such as redesigning an entire street, we'd like to move those to implementation. And typically that means that the work moves from the planning stage to the design and engineering stage. And this is an area where the Transportation Department needs additional resources relative to staff. There's only so many projects that we can move forward, whether it's design review, whether in some cases it's actually doing engineering drawings in-house to move things even quicker. And because currently there is a whole series of neighborhood transportation plans, whether it's Plan East Boston or the Austin-Brighton Mobility Study, there's going to be a series of new projects that we would like to move towards implementation. And so the Transportation Department made a request to the BPDA to fund a position. This person would be joining Patrick's team and would be responsible, on the one hand, for some community process, but equally, but equally for doing design review, doing engineering review, and moving the project efficiently to the through the city system so that we can move it towards implementation. So that's kind of the overall picture. Initially, this person, we have been working with the BPDA to make out a strict work plan as to what this person will be doing once hired for the next, at least for the next year, but into the following year as well. And our focus, or this person's focus, would be to move forward on the recommendations coming out of the soon to be released Austin Brighton mobility study, as well as to look at areas. Plan Mattapan is coming through now. Plan Glover's Corner is coming through now. And I've been personally very engaged with work that's going on in East Boston. And so those are some areas that this person will be focused on, but primarily to start things, it will be in the Austin Brighton area. So that's a quick introduction. I know everybody, practically everybody knows Patrick. So Patrick, if you want to add a couple of sentences, feel free.
Yeah, thanks, Vanina. Hi, everybody. Hello, councilors. It's a pleasure to be here and honor to be here to testify with Director Gupta and, are seeking this transfer of funds to help us with the resources, with the personnel to assist in implementation of all of the great recommendations for transportation and safety. The most planning we've done, I think, in our city's history has been taking place the last few years. And with that comes projects and these recommendations. And in order to get them in the ground, we really need, additional personnel with the skills to develop drawings and to advance the plans to a level consistent with, contractually being able to put them in the ground and to, create safe space for pedestrians, for cyclists, for dedicated bus lanes, for all modes through different corridors, create safe crossings for children, for our seniors, for all vulnerable populations. So it's very important work. Today, I presently have a small team, and with the addition of this planner, we could really, ratchet up the speed at which we implement changes that could really affect transportation safety, transportation efficiency, and the goals that we have in Go Boston 2030 and our subsequent planning initiatives coming out of the BPDA, our partner agency on these initiatives. So thank you very much for your attendance today and participation and listening to what we have to say in terms of this transfer of funds and subsequent approvals and getting going on trying to get a plan engineer, shall we say, a planner engineer on board with our team at BTD. So thank you very much, councilors.
Thank you.
We're happy to answer any questions.
Wonderful. Okay, I'm sure we will have some. I want to recognize Councillor Kenzie Bach has joined us as well. I'll save my questions for the end. So we'll start with Councillor Braden.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Patrick and Vinette, for your presentation. A planner engineer, that seems like a pretty specialized skill set. Is it going to be difficult to recruit such a personnel?
It's not. It was very specialized 3 years ago. More and more engineers have a lot of planning background now in their education and what they do on a daily basis. So we're hopeful we can hire someone quickly. I will say though that in general the market is really tight. We've had another position that's been open for quite some time. So we'll see how quickly we can get somebody on board. But we do want to have someone who can perform the work that our residents would expect them to do.
Yeah. I appreciate that, and I appreciate all the great work that the Alston Brighton Mobility Study has done over the last was 3 years now, and really stellar performance by all involved, and a tremendous list of recommendations to try and implement. So also in terms of personnel, I'm just curious about one thing that struck me recently with your department is that very often is a huge demand of work that's, all across the city. That's driven a lot by the huge amount of new construction, new development that we're seeing. Just in terms of how many open positions do you have within your department at the moment?
So within the policy and planning division that I head up, we actually only have one open position for a corridor planner. We've been extremely lucky that we've hired a very hardworking and extremely qualified and dedicated staff over the last 2 years. And so this person would be, if approved, would be the second opening that would be available for people to apply for.
And do you think that, I know it's a 3-year commitment, this fund, this grant from BPDA. Do you foresee that you may need more personnel? Like, do you need, this is for one person? Like, I'm just thinking, is this going to meet your needs?
It's always difficult to match exactly needs with available resources. For at least for a year, this should be, we think that we'll be able to accomplish what we can promise to the community. But as more and more plans come online, we'll always be trying to make sure that our resources are matched with the expectations of our community. Mm-hmm. And I mean, you should know that it's just not the policy and planning division. It's also our engineering division.
Yeah,
that works extremely hard, and it's the public works department that we meet and work with every day. We're practically one agency. And most importantly, it's our people out in the field, the men and women who are out there, whether they're overseeing a contractor or whether they're doing lane markings through in-house.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. And yeah, I think that's all for now. I just thought, I had one thought that went right through my head and without nothing. It's like, the work that you do is so critical, and I really appreciate all your efforts, and look forward to continuing to work with you to implement all the great improvements that that you're recommended in Alston Brighton. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Councillor, and it's been great for the team to work with your office for all these years. I think that the plan that we have in Alston Brighton is going to transform that neighborhood and surrounding neighborhoods in the coming years.
Yeah. And, I think I've remembered what my comment was. It's really, it's so important to have a robust department on your side of the fence, because the development process is rapid and extensive, and we have so many and so much new development that I really feel sometimes the transit piece of it doesn't keep up. So I'm glad to reinforce your people over there. Thank you.
We appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Councillor Braden. Councillor Mejia. Oh, okay, she may have stepped away. We'll go to Councillor Flynn.
Thank you, Councillor Wu, and it's good to see Vineet and to see Pat, and just want to say thank you to both of you, but also to your team that does tremendous work and outreach in all of the neighborhoods of Boston. So just want to say thank you to your professionalism and hard work. I don't necessarily have any questions other than the fact that I just wanted to highlight the transportation team in their important work they're doing. And I also know, Vineet, that you work closely, and Pat, you guys work closely with the Mayor's Commission on Persons with Disabilities as it relates to infrastructure, pedestrian safety related issues, and the critical role to make sure that our streets and sidewalks are safer for everybody, but especially for persons with disabilities, our seniors. Maybe if you can just talk a little about, what improvements, generally speaking, are we going to see as it relates to persons with disabilities, just making our streets and sidewalks safer throughout the city for persons with disabilities. And that's an issue that I focus on a lot. So thank you, Vineet.
No, thank you, Councillor. And thank you for bringing that up. And really, thank you for your leadership on this issue. I think that I haven't been to a single meeting where you haven't brought this up, and you've emphasized the importance of providing access for persons with disabilities. That dimension is part of practically everything that the department does, particularly relative to design. And working hand in hand with our Disabilities Commission, and really also with our H-Strong Commission and with our Youth Council, we make sure that the facilities that we design can be accessed by all. And this is more than just providing curb ramps to a crosswalk. I mean, we've been doing that forever. But it's also about how does somebody in a wheelchair get into a bus? Or how does somebody walk safely on a street, on a sidewalk? Or how do they have access to all the facilities that everybody else has equally? And so this is definitely a focus of our work today, and will be a focus of this new person who will join the team.
Well, thank you, Vineet, and thank you, Pat. And that's exactly why I asked that question, because obviously people are watching this on television, but I use this as an opportunity to educate people as well, and to educate them about the exceptional work that city officials are doing every day for us. So thank you, Vineet. Thank you, Pat, and let your team know we said thank you as well. Thank you, Councilor.
Thank you, Councillor Flynn. Councillor Bach?
Councillor, no questions for me. I arrived too tardily to do that. So thank you so much to the department and to you.
Great. Oh, hi, Councillor Mejia. Sorry, it seemed like you were away a moment before. So sorry, I didn't realize you were back. Do you have any questions?
No, not at this moment. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'll just ask a few first, just in terms of the source of this funding, if you can remind us where from, is this from a particular mitigation fund or pool within the BPDA's resources, or connected to anything in particular?
No, it's not connected to anything particular. It's the BPDA board that authorized these monies, referenced a planning and development fund, which is kind of a general fund that the BPDA has.
Okay.
As the source of the money.
Okay, and you had said the first focus would be Alston Brighton, but a bunch of other potential plan engineer tasks in the queue as well. How do you anticipate that? I mean, and so once this person is fully ramped up, what is kind of the maximum number of planning corridor or neighborhood projects that is feasible for one person?
It's difficult to put an exact number on it, but typically, so for example, I'll give you an example of an actual planner today who's doing this, and I think Councillor Bach is familiar with this person, William. So William Moose is doing Mission Hill, he's doing the Back Bay, he's doing a section of the South End, principally. Those are 3 neighborhoods. So typically we like to have a particular planner doing 3 neighborhoods, but invariably there's one neighborhood that they're more focused on for several months before they get to the other. So it's an issue of how much of their time every week they're spending on each neighborhood. And in some cases where plans are more advanced, such as in Alston Brighton, we anticipate to spend more time, that person to spend more time in that neighborhood.
Okay, got it.
Just to follow up on Vineet's point, our planner, William, that works in my neighborhood planning division, right now he's focused a lot on Jamaica Plain and JP Rocks and initiatives coming out of the Plan JP Rocks initiative Eggleston Square redesign in particular to improve safety at Eggleston Square, and also look to create a bike pathway through the district to connect the resources, the open space resources of Franklin Park and the Southwest Corridor. So Williams focused a lot on that, as well as Columbus Ave, and creating the multimodal corridor on Columbus Ave. So he has his hands full and doing a great job.
Got it. Okay, and Pat, so you had mentioned before that you have a smallish team now. How many people is it total, and how many from both Benita and Patrick would the ideal kind of to take on the number of plans that we're hoping to have in the pipeline?
So we work, we have different divisions with the policy and planning team. And so we work kind of across divisions. And so on any given project, there's somebody from active transportation, there's somebody from the transit team, and there's somebody from Patrick's neighborhood planning team that are working collectively. And so, different teams have, the transit team has a total of 3 people. Patrick's team currently has 2 planners, and we're expecting has 3 planners, and then there's the 2 open positions are both in his team. So it's a 5-person team. But like I said, we all work as a larger group. So there may be, for example, a bus lane in the neighborhood that this person is working in, say in Austin, Brighton, for example. Then the transit team would be more involved and will be giving assistance. Or if there's a bike lane that's involved, then it's the active transportation team that might be more involved. So it's the responsibilities are distributed throughout the division, as you would imagine, depending on the focus of a particular project.
Okay, and do you envision more open or additional positions that you will be hiring for beyond these 2?
We're always hoping to get more positions, as with any department or any division. It helps get more work done, and it helps us move forward on the great capital plan that the City Council approves every year.
Okay, so sorry, I see Councilor Bach has questions too. 2 last questions from me. One, could you just, I think you had referenced it before, but what is the other open position focused on?
It's a corridor planner's position. It's a corridor planner. So there are 2 major initiatives that we're currently working on: Blue Hill Avenue and Columbia Road. We haven't actually started Columbia Road, but that's on the cards. And we think that those 2, Blue Hill Avenue has made significant progress, but Columbia Road hasn't started yet. And that's a very kind of complex undertaking, given the size of that corridor and all the issues in that area. So we are looking to hire a corridor planner to help us with those. That's being posted on the website for actually quite some time now.
Got it. Okay, and then just, can you, maybe this is a big question, but just a concise version of how does the, now with planning here, there are other places where planning lives, and then planning in the BPDA, how does that sort of all across, not just BTD, but all of those departments end up working?
So there's transportation planning that obviously the transportation department does. There's transportation planning that happens in the BPDA, and there's transportation planning to some extent in the environment department. And so we work hand in hand on each and every project. There are some projects where it's understood that BPDA is in the lead. Many of the so-called planning projects, if you see what I mean, are headed up by the BPDA. But we assign a person from our side who is kind of a designee for that particular process. So everything is coordinated. So there is, between these 3 agencies, there is a really close coordination. I also do a monthly kind of coming together of all planners who do transportation planning in the city. We do one meeting. It's been going on for 2 years now. It's both a chance for people to kind of just meet each other and have a good time, and also a chance for them to learn from each other to find out what's going on.
Got it. Okay. Almost as if we could use a planning department. I won't get it. Okay. That sounds great. Councillor Bach has questions?
No, sorry, Councilor Wu. I just wanted to say that William Moose is wonderful, and I hugely appreciate his dedication to transportation planning, and it's been very responsive in the last year. So that was all. His name was invoked, so I just wanted to add my plug. But we have a lot of transportation questions that we just finished drafting up for the department for their budget hearing a week from Monday. So I'll hold off for them.
Wonderful. Okay. Well, thank you very much. Do any of our other colleagues have lingering questions?
I'm all set. Thank you, Michelle. Councilor Wu.
Okay, Councilor Brayden's good. Yeah, so I feel great. I will figure out a way to move this. I might ask one of the colleagues here. I won't be at our next council meeting on Wednesday. I want to move this forward for you also. I'll work with the President Pro Temp to maybe one of y'all could just quickly summarize who have been at this meeting. Maybe Councilor Brayden makes sense since it's largely going to be focused on your district anyway. And would love to find a way to move that even though I won't be here on Wednesday.
Really appreciate that. Thank you. Because we do want to move as quickly as we can, and then we can put the posting up.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining, everyone. This will conclude our hearing on, hearing on dockets number 0204 and 0347. This hearing is adjourned.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Have a great day.